Hey everybody, welcome back to Horror Trans. Stephanie Bree here, transgender woman, talk about all things horror. This is going to be a topic because I'm kind of falling behind. I mentioned this on some of my other channels, but my laptop died. I lost all my scripts and lists and everything, so I have to go back through my catalog of horror movies that I own and put them, go back through my list of movies I've already reviewed and build a new list of movies that I haven't reviewed yet, and then review them. That's going to take some time. But this is just a topic video. And the question is, are there too many zombie movies? But this question is twofold. One, I'm asking in general, just as a broad stroke, have they overdone it with the zombie genre? Because you got the Living Dead and the Night of the Deads and the Return of the Deads and the zombies and the demons, if that counts, and the 28 Laters, and you got the Resident Evils, and if you're counting TV shows, you got The Walking Dead and its 10,000 fucking goddamn spin-offs. If you're into zombie shit, there's a lot of it out there. There's even a lot of, is it zombies? Is it not zombies? Questionable stuff like The Crazies, Night of the Creeps, etc. And so I want to start with a broad stroke is, are there overall too many zombie movies? And even if you want to throw in comedies, fuck it, you can throw in like Weekend at Bernie's 2 is technically a zombie movie, but let's sweep that under the rug and never speak of it again. So, the first, that question, in the broad strokes, I'm going to say, yeah, there's too many zombie movies. And the main reason why I say that is just because there's really not a shit ton of variety between the zombie franchises. You occasionally get an outlier like the Resident Evils that are more sci-fi action zombie horror, or like, shit-ass fucking dumb fucking stupid why do people like it Shaun of the Dead, or the actual proper way to do a zombie spoof, Zombieland. Or occasionally you'll get like a Crazies or Night of the Creeps or 28 Laters where it's like, is it zombies? I mean, or even World War Z or I Am Legend. Like there's a whole bunch of, well, if you're just looking for a horde of flesh eaters, here you go. You're going to get your fix. But the second question I want to ask is a little more complicated, a little bit convoluted, and I kind of want to unpack it. And are there too many Romero-esque, Romero timeline zombie movies? If you don't know, not everybody does, Night of the Living Dead from 1968, George A. Romero, spawned 3.5, I'm going to say 3.5 completely separate but all interconnected timelines that can trace their roots back to Night of the Living Dead. And they are all canon in their own respective timelines with regards to Night of the Living Dead. They each, 3 separate timelines, can be seen as the official canon following Night of the Living Dead. So first you have the Romero zombies. You've got Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead again, Day of the Dead again, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, something, Strangers of the Dead or something like that, I can't remember. There's a fuck ton of them. There's like 8 or 9 or something like that. Just in the Romero continuity. Now, the reason why I said Dawn of the Dead twice and Day of the Dead twice is because officially, but also unofficially, it's convoluted, but bear with me. Both Dawn of the Deads and both Day of the Deads are sequels in their own respects to Night of the Living Dead and continuations of each other's respective timelines, but also pseudo remakes. So let me break it down. Dawn of the Dead, 1970, what, 7, 8? And then Dawn of the Dead, 2004. They are not remakes. Dawn of the Dead 2004 is not a remake of Dawn of the Dead 1978. It's not a reimagining. It's not a reboot. It's literally the same timeline. You have characters from Dawn of the Dead 1978 appearing in 2004 in canon, following the timeline as themselves. You kind of have to get a little wishy-washy because Dawn was made in 78 and the other Dawn was made in 2004, but also Night of the Living Dead was in 1968, and they're all supposed to take place more or less within, like, days of each other. Night, Dawn, Night remake, and then Dawn pseudo remake, and then Day remake. It's convoluted, but they all count in the same timeline. They're just sort of a choose-your-own-adventure, plug-and-play, pick up and put them where you want them. Same with, Land of the Dead and Diary of the Dead, and I don't remember. I think it's Strangers of the Dead or something like that. I can't fucking remember. Stranded of the... I don't remember. There's too many of them. But also, you could go all the way back to Night of the Living Dead, ignore the Romero continuity, and go forward into the, I'm just going to say the Italian continuity, where you have the Zombie and then the sequels to Zombie. Zombie is kind of... oh god, like I said, it's fucking convoluted, but let's just say Zombie is it's a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead 1968, but it's also sort of a retelling / reimagining of Dawn of the Dead 1978, but also its own separate film. This spawned its own continuity that goes forward from there to Zombie 2 and 3, etc., etc. Quite a few. Again, those are all in canon direct sequels to Night of the Living Dead in their respective timeline. But it gets convoluted again because a third direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead in canon, spawning a third completely separate but also equally canon continuity, is 1986's 86 Return of the Living Dead, which itself spawned a number of sequels. 4 or 5 of them by my last count, and possibly a remake in the works, or I don't know. Now, the reason why I say it gets convoluted is because not only are these 3 franchises separate but equal canon sequel continuities of 1968 Night of the Living Dead, they are kind of officially but also unofficially but kind of sort of pseudo canon interconnected with Shaun of the Dead, which is itself in canon but not officially but also unofficially pseudo officially in canon in the same universe as the 28 Laters, days, weeks, and now years. So you have somewhere between 13 and 20 plus movies in one fucking convoluted ass franchise that are all officially but also unofficially interconnected Some of them are pseudo remakes, sequels, requels, reboots, reimaginings, and others are just direct sequels that branch out into different timelines. It's a fucking nightmare. It's a fucking mess. And I'm going to go ahead and go all the way to the extreme and say, yes, there are too many Living Dead-esque zombie Romero zombie movies. There's too, when you take in the returns and the nights and days and dawns and etc., plus the zombie, the just straight up zombie 2, 3, etc., etc. Even if you ignore Shaun of the Dead and the 28 Laters, that's too many fucking movies. But then you take those, which goddamn, that's a lot. You throw in, proper zombie movies, like unambiguously zombie movies, World War Z, the 28 Laters, Crazies, the Resident Evils. I mean, my God, you will get your if you only listen. If you only, as a horror fan, want to watch zombie movies, nothing but zombie movies, and I haven't even got into zombie strippers or Nazi zombies by the lake or whatever the fuck it's called. I haven't even got into the B movies. I'm just talking about legit, proper movies. And then you got the two zombie lands. Shaun of the Dead, I've already mentioned. And then you've got stuff that it's like, well, functionally, these are zombie movies. I mentioned Night of the Creeps. You also kind of have functionally a zombie movie. You have I Am Legend. You have Night of the Comet. You have, I can't think of all of them off the top of my head. God, there was one I was thinking of that it was like, oh yeah, Death Proof. I think that is functionally a zombie movie, if not officially a zombie movie. So there's a lot of functional zombie movies as well as, I will say, proper, if you will, zombie movies. I didn't even mention Army of the Dead or any movies that are interconnected with it. I don't know where it falls in the timelines. I mean, I'm one person. I can't do all the research. I can't even guarantee that everything I've said so far is accurate. I'm getting a lot of this off of internet forums and other YouTubers and Reddit and Wikipedia, so I'm like, I'll take your word for it, but I'm just going to say, like I said, kind of, sort of, loosey-goosey. I'm not rubber stamping and saying, oh, this is as I understand it, the way it is, the truth. I'm just saying, listen, this is the way it was explained to me, and I'm just trying to make goddamn sense out of it, even though it don't make a lick of sense. But let's push that aside. You got 8, 6, 7, 8 Resident Evils just in one franchise alone. The point is, not counting the outliers that are functionally zombie movies but not technically officially zombie movies, almost every zombie movie has ever been made, with a handful of exceptions, has spawned at least a franchise of 3 to 5 sequels, and more often than not, 1 or 2 potential remakes, requels, reboots, etc. It's a goddamn nightmare trying to sort it out. But like I said, if you only want to watch zombie movies, nothing else, all day long, you're good to go. And you could pick random zombie movies off the shelf, 3 to 5 movies a day, depending on your schedule, and never get bored. Except for, well, if you watch 3 to 5 zombie movies a day, you're gonna get bored because, like the slashers, if you've seen 8 Friday the 13th, you've seen Friday the 13th 8 times. If you've seen 8 Halloweens, you've seen Halloween 8 times, with a couple of you know, eh. But more or less, that's the case. Not so much with Nightmare on Elm Street or Chucky or Hellraiser. Hellraiser's a bit wishy-washy. We're not going to dip our toes into that franchise, air quotes. But no, I think if... And I didn't even bring up the, let's talk briefly about Phantasm. Does that count as zombies or pseudo-zombies? I mean, they are reanimated corpses. That's literally what they are, reanimated corpses. And then you got The Church, and I don't know. There's Demons. Dario Argento's got two or three or four or five, I don't know how many Demons movies. They're officially demons, but they're functionally zombies. Again. So, if you're looking for variety, pull an Argento, pull a Romero, pull a Fulci, pull a Return, grab a Resident Evil, and then throw in a Zombieland for good measure, and then maybe mix it up with a World War Z or a 28 Later or a Crazies or a Night of the Comet or something. And you're going to have a good-ass time watching zombie movies. But in my opinion, I love zombie movies, don't get me wrong. I have never in my life seen a zombie movie I didn't like yet. But if you've seen Dawn of the Dead 1978, you don't really need to see Dawn of the Dead 2004. If you've seen Day of the Dead 1985, 6, whatever, you don't really need to see the other Day of the Dead. They're more or less the same movie. And I'm saying more or less. Because they're not like shot-for-shot remakes. But you're good either way. I feel like I'm rambling and I apologize, but I really want to hammer home the point that there are more zombie movies. I haven't sat down and read the Wikipedia, but I feel like there are more I know there's more zombie movies than werewolf movies, because I've been hard pressed to find a good werewolf movie, and there's not a lot of them out there to begin with, save for the Twilights, but we'll sweep those back under the rug where they belong. You know, they're girl porn, but we don't need to talk about it. That's all they are, girl porn. I'm a girl, but it's okay. But no, I think there might actually even be more zombie movies than vampire movies, but I'm not going to rubber stamp that statement because I always forget the Hammer films. But again, let's go all the way back. Frankenstein. Is Frankenstein a zombie? And if you correct me and say it's Dr. Frankenstein, the monster is called Frankenstein's monster, take this, shove him up your butt, shut the fuck up. It's Bride of Frankenstein. He's the monster. Yes, I know, technically, it's the monster, but culturally speaking, it is acceptable to call the goddamn monster Frankenstein. Now, I'll probably do a more deep dive into this one of these days after I've seen the rest of the Frankenstein movies. But he is still technically a zombie. He's not contaminated with a mystical energy force or a zombie virus or whatever, so he's not spreading his zombie-ness into other zombies and reproducing like you see in most zombie movies, but he is still technically he's a reanimated corpse. And then, yeah, I haven't seen all of the fantasy movies, you know, Dragonheart, Legend, all of the, you know, the various, you know, you got the Lord of the Rings, you got the Hobbits, you got the Conans, you got the, you know, Dungeons and Dragons, etc., etc., etc. Zombies are a type of monster that appears in a lot of fantasy role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons specifically. I don't know if there are zombies, horde zombies we'll call them, in other types of movies. I've already mentioned comedies. Yeah, you've got like My Boyfriend's Back. That's technically a zombie. Hocus Pocus. He is technically a zombie. Weekend at Bernie's 2. That is technically a zombie, but that's a different type of zombie. But hey, whatever. Here we are. Like I said, it gets really muddy, really wishy-washy. So, my official declaration is there are too many zombie movies. There are too many continuities spawned from Night of the Living Dead. But if you're looking for zombie movies, you're going to find them all day long. You're good to go. Stay cool.